Steven, I was just out shooting in the rain at the baseball game. I don't know why my ass is wet. I can't figure this one out. I'm gonna have to. I think I need your help to figure this out on the show. Why is my butt wet, but everything else is fine? I don't know.
Steven, so I was out shooting the Phillies game last night, and it was raining, and like my voicemail said, I had a raincoat up top. I didn't have a raincoat up the bottom because I left my rain pants in the car because it really wasn't supposed to rain that bad. And what I realized when I left is that my ass got wet, but my legs were fine, and that's because my ass is so big it sticks out further than everything else.
We say it's a little bookshelf, man. You got a nice little bookshelf on the back. I could just pop my drink right there.
Yeah, well, it got wet because of the rain, and I'm just like,
but everything below it was covered.
No, everything below is like, oh, I didn't need rain pants. I just need ass pants, like ass rain pants. It did not intend to shoot in the rain yesterday, but I was prepared.
Well, it was only supposed to rain until, 4 or 5 o'clock?
Yeah, and drizzle. And then when the game started, like right before the game started, it was already raining. I don't know why they started the game. I mean, I know technically why, I think, and that's because once the pitchers and other players start warming up, they don't want to delay them. So basically they have to make a call. The grounds crew in the Major League Baseball has to make a call probably an hour before game time. We are going to start on time regardless, unless it's a deluge, because the player safety is involved with they don't want them to warm up and then have to sit and cool down and then have to warm up again. That's a problem.
Sure.
So that's probably why they started, even though it was raining.
It just happened to be the smallest little band just coming through and hovering right over Philly, right over South Philly where the stadiums are. Because meanwhile, over here in Jersey, it was literally sunny out, and I'm 30 minutes away from you. Probably 20 minutes from the stadium without traffic.
Yeah, and it was absolutely deluging. No, it wasn't rain. It was like a misty.
It was like a misty thing. Yeah, because I watched it on TV, and it was real hard to see some of the players during certain moments.
But it was cool because I had my Patagonia raincoat, the one I took to Kenya, not my super duper heavy duty one, but it was amazing. And what I learned is I brought my visor. I have to wear the visor because the hood from these things would come down over my eyes and everything would just drip into my face off of the little lip. So because I have the visor, everything just lands and runs off. And it's great. And then the think tank hydrophobia around the camera where I put my hands in covers everything perfectly.
Wait, what was that crazy contraption that you got that was a Nubrella? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, the Nubrella. Could you imagine wearing that at a sporting event? Look at me, guys!
Hey, but it actually kind of works. It's an umbrella that sticks above your head, and you wrap it around your waist for the most part, and you can still shoot hands-free.
Yeah,
it is
a backpack.
An ingenious idea, but it just looks absolutely ridiculous.
And part of the problem is if you have a lens that's like a 60 millimeter or longer, it's gonna get wet regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't stick out that far, the actual front of the umbrella. But
so the hydrophobia was still the best thing.
You do use it sometimes, though, don't you?
I don't know where it is since we moved. No, I think I do know where it is. It's in that utility room.
It was always the best watching you walk down the street in that ridiculous contraption. Look at this guy.
Look at me.
Hands free.
Anyway, when I was walking past the Mets dugout, I was leaving yesterday.
Did you boo
like
him?
The third inning. Did I boo him? No. I was walking past the dugout and I hear someone go, "Jared?" It was one of the players on the bench. And usually you don't interact with the players on the bench, especially during the game. But he's like, "Hey." He's like, "I'm a big fan." And he's like, "Well, it's awesome to see you here." And it was Sean Manaea, I believe his name
awesome.
is. He's a pitcher. He's like, "Yeah, we met with Josh Hader when I was playing for San Diego." He's like, "We met on the field." He's like, I love your stuff. I watch all your videos." So I was like, "Awesome."
He didn't do the whole, "Hey, Fro knows. Yo, Fro knows." It's never, "Hey, Jared." It's always, "Hey, Fro knows."
No, he said Jared.
That means he's a true fan.
Yeah, so we talked for a second because I, can't be on the field too long.
Sure.
And when I go back today, I sent him an Instagram. I don't think he checks very often, but I'm going to talk to him before the game. 4x5 project, try to get a portrait with
perfect.
him and then see if he can get some of the other players to get in on it too.
And you've got a nice overcast day today.
Yeah, it should be overcast most of the day, which
rain.
is good. So that's good, being seen and then that's
so how did he know it was you? Was it the hair? Was it the giant guns? Maybe the tight shirt that's purple and says "I shoot raw"? Oh, it could be the ass too. Yeah. You're really hard to pick out.
There was no fro because it was tucked underneath underneath the hood. I had the hood up because it was raining.
True, you actually were covered up for once.
It didn't have I Shoot Raw on it because my raincoat doesn't say I Shoot Raw.
Couldn't see your guns.
Couldn't see my gun. You could see my ass a little
What
bit.
about that badunk?
You could see my badunk.
There you go. We narrowed it down.
Probably was that. So when I go back today, I'm going to talk to him before the game about getting portraits of him because he's not pitching today. And, well, actually, I don't know if he's a reliever. No, I don't think he was in the dugout. So he's probably not. I think he's a starter. So he won't be pitching. And I should be able to get some pictures of him and hopefully some other people.
What's his camera of choice?
I don't know. I think he shoots Sony.
Okay.
I think he shoots Sony. Don't forget, in San Diego, Sony's headquartered.
Oh,
Sony
that's
USA
right
is
there.
headquartered over there.
Yeah.
And so that may be what he uses, even though the Padres photographer still shoots Nikon, if I am correct. I believe he shoots Nikon. But something else was cool at the game. A couple of weekends ago, one of the players asked me on the field to go and photograph a birthday for their kid. And I don't need to give names for any of this stuff, but I was like, he asked me on a Friday and the thing was Saturday, morning. I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh,
I
that
got
last
nothing
minute.
going on. Yeah. I'm like, I'll do it. And all he asked for was, can you get some great, classic photos, that look old style, or,
He wanted more candid photos, right?
yeah, of his kid that his kid can have
Timeless,
forever.
candid photos.
It's basically what he was going for. So,
Yeah.
so I did that. Delivered the photos. They loved the photos. And then I made a book, a Printique book. As I always do, I like to make those books. And I gave it to one of the players yesterday on the field to take into the locker room to give to him. And when he came out on the field before the game, he came right up to me, hand out, thanked me for it, shook my hand, said I didn't need to do that, but also said that he was showing it to everybody else in the locker room.
That's awesome. The rapport you have with the players now, it's great.
That's why you do leave behinds. That's why you do things that people remember. That's why you make prints. You don't have to make a $400 photo book because these books have gone. I mean, the price went up. I even checked with Printique. I was like, did the price of everything go up? They're like, yeah. I was like, how much? Because those books, the book that I did was 100 pages, was $371 or $80.
You also did,
And
what was it, a 9x12 book? It was a big book.
It's the 12x9 book.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was less than, it was like $280. It's like $100 more for the book.
Good old inflation.
But, thankfully I got credits. My recommendation for people is always give something, whether it's a print, whether it's a small book that sets you back just a little bit, just something that people tangibly can hold. Oh, because also my 16x20, remember the 16x20 photo book that I did recently of all the printouts off the Pro 1000 for the 4x5 project?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent that out to someone in the mail because they wanted to pitch an idea, and in order to do that, I wanted them to have physical prints and not digital copies to show people. I didn't want them to sit around a screen. I wanted them to flip the book pages.
Make an impression, yeah.
Make a huge impression.
I mean, even the littlest thing, like you said, printing out a photo and framing it. I mean, frames aren't that expensive, especially the ones that are pre-matted
Frames are very
too.
expensive. When you do
You're
it the
talking
way
about
I
doing
do
it like museum style studio glass, frame. I'm talking about go to Michael's and grab a frame where the average person will never know the difference.
No.
Okay. Well, for example,
never.
I printed out a photo of Hannah for my wife when she was in the hospital and first had her for Mother's Day and framed that 5x7 matted in an 8x10, brought her to tears. So it's stuff like that. It's the little things. Didn't cost me a ton, but it matters a lot to the recipient.
That's nice. Nonetheless, it was really nice to have a player, come up to me on the field before the game, shake my hand, thank me, and better than anything else, show the rest of the players because you get instant credibility when they see your work. If no one ever sees your work and you expect them to just follow your Instagram or something, it's not the same as showing someone the prints. It goes such a long way just to go and do that. So
I wonder if the players know you more than the rest of the media at this point, even though you've only been shooting there for 2 years when they might have been there for the past 20 years.
Well, this is the third year of being down there doing this, but they've recognized me, because of the shirt. They definitely were talking about me because of the I Shoot Raw shirt in the past and my guns.
But the fact that they've actually seen your work, though, is what I mean.
Yeah. Well, they also see like the team photographer stuff, but do they recognize the other guys? Yeah, they talk to the other guys from time to time. But this year, because of the 4x5 project, it's opened doors up because it's forced me to talk to the players, but it's also they come up to me to ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's the key. It's like you got to just break down that wall and be able to just engage with someone and show them the work so they see you're the real deal, that you're a professional just like they're a professional. I'm at the top of my game and they're at the top of their game.
I mean, professional, we use that term loosely.
I'm one of the best in the world at what I do, Steven. I can tell you there's not, I'm probably the best in baseball photography right now for shooting 4x5.
One of one.
I'm the only one. I am the only one. All right, moving on real quick. My dad is going on his first international trip. He leaves today.
Where's he going?
I got it. He's going to Spain, España.
Oh,
he's going to.
Is that why he took a Spanish class?
Well, he always wanted to do the Spanish, so he took his Spanish 1, he took his Spanish 2, and so he's gonna, go there.
Fluent now at this point, or is he still kind of?
I don't know. I don't know Spanish, so I can't speak it. He sounds pretty good. So
I just remember I think I took Spanish 2 in college, or whatever the advanced class was, and I had to have a whole conversation with the teacher in Spanish. And at this point, I don't recall any of it. Besides
the cheese
the very,
is old
very
and
basics.
moldy. The cheese is old and moldy. Where's the bathroom? Do you know what movie that's from? Encino Man.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser.
Such a good, bad movie.
And Pauly Shore. No wheezing the juice. Wheeze the juice. Wheeze the juice. That's when he sticks his head underneath the 7-Eleven Slurpee machine and says, wheeze the juice.
I just think of Pauly Shore in the Goofy movie.
Goofy movie?
Tower of Cheese.
Oh, no, the really good Pauly Shore movie was the one where he worked on the farm. What was that one called?
I just remember Biodome, and that's the big one for me.
Really? Mm-hmm. Pauly Shore on farm movie. What was that called? Was it... I'm trying to think. I'm looking it up. Son-in-Law. It was called Son-in-Law.
He was at that Funny or Die 10-year event, if you recall. I have pictures of him that I took when I think he was on stage or no.
They were escorting him out. If I recall, he wanted to be in the back with everybody.
They were kicking him out. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was like
Steven.
an Entourage moment.
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Pauly Shore.
He's trying to do that Richard Simmons biopic or documentary or something.
But Richard Simmons came out of the woodworks and was like, no.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about that. Anyway, my dad is flying. He'll be going to Spain. He's going to be there for like a week. It's his first time being out of the country, so I'm giving him all the tips about, take a picture of your passport so it's in your phone, right? Like basic stuff. Use your Apple Pay to pay for everything.
Yeah.
If they say, do you want to pay in US currency or not? Do not. Just let them charge in their native currency and your credit card will do the rest.
Yep.
Right? But he was trying to check in yesterday and it wasn't working. So you know how he is. And so he's calling me and it's not working. And I don't know why it's not working. So I'm like, well, you just call. He's like, well, what's the number? I'm like, you ever heard of fucking Google? So he Googles, he's like, they're going to call me back in 10 minutes. So he calls me back and he goes, well, what happened is I got upgraded to business class on the way home. And did you do that? I was like, yeah, I put in for one of those system-wide upgrades because I had a bunch of that from all the flying I did last year. And I figured instead of hoarding all of them and not using them and letting them expire, like try to surprise my dad if they're available. And so he's going to be, so because of that, he wasn't able to check in online, but they're like, you're checked in, you're fine. Because it was that, you come into the airport and you'll get all your tickets, you'll be fine. So he'll be able to be into the better class with the right people.
He won't be in the back with the peasants.
Yeah, the right people up front and
the right people.
That's a joke. There's a guy on Instagram who's in Philly who says, I can't say what he says. He's a black guy who says something when he goes to like Wegmans. He's like, I'm here with the right people, the white folk. It's funny stuff. And he has a really cool T-shirt, which is The Price is Right, but it says the right people or something. It's funny. Whatever, you get offended easy, don't watch it, but I find it to be hilarious. So my dad will be enjoying business class. There are no first class cabins on those planes, but first class is lay flat, full meal, take care of you, get you whatever you need.
He's got the legit for. Oof, man, nice.
Well, it's business. It's business on a 787. So
I've never been in that spot.
yeah, I did when I went to Kenya.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Being the right people.
Yeah. I was like, can I get an extra lobster dish? He's like, sure. I ended up with 3 of them. Oh, it was good. Oh, shit. It's good to be with the right people. And by the right people, I'm not inferring that it's white folks, like the guy said. It's just people in first class, not people in
Not me in the back.
Steven in the back. Like the time I go
Not
to
me at the bottom of the Titanic.
I was going to, when I was flying home from Paris, my friend was in the economy plus. So I was in business and I wanted to take her like some of my food. And the one flight attendant dude was like, you're not allowed to do that, as I came back after giving it to her. And I'm like, whatever, dude. And so the other flight attendant guy, really good looking, like 50-something-year-old dude, nice clean cut, works out, noticed my ass.
Yeah.
Dude, he would have taken my number. No, because he told me he was gay. He told me. I told this story before. This guy was really nice, maybe because he wanted to put it in there, but he was super awesome. We had a really cool, we talked for a while with my friend and him, and just in the middle of the night, just standing there. But he's like, don't listen to that guy. He's an asshole. He's like, give the people food. If you want to give them food, it just gets thrown out anyway. So anyway, I just like being up in the front. It's really nice. It feels great to lay down and just have my own booth.
We only give scraps to the people in the back.
Yeah, you guys fend for yourself. Here's a bucket. So anyway, that's my dad. He's going on a trip. Hopefully he enjoys it. He wants to do more of it, but let him get through the first one.
And he's going by himself, correct? Or it's like
he's going by himself, but it's one of those where you meet the group people.
Interesting.
You know, one of those group things. So he'll fit in with the group.
He'll complain the whole time.
He'll be fine.
He'll be Jared on a trip. What?
Don't know what he's going to eat, but I made sure that his phone system is set, so all he needs to do is just turn it on and it works, and he should be fine. I got to take him to the airport though. He needs to go to the airport at 3. He will most likely be at my house at 1:30, ready to go, nervous, pacing. So I was perusing Instagram and it fed me this video from this woman. Do you know why I call women girls? I don't call men boys. Dude, you call my reasoning is, if you call someone a woman, they get offended that you're calling them old.
Older, yeah.
And that's not what I'm trying to say, but I totally understand how woman.
Where guys are the opposite. They're like, I'm a man. I'm not a little boy.
Where I would never call a man a boy, but for whatever reason you call
I call you a toddler sometimes, but that's a different story.
Fuck you, Steven. Could you imagine how big my ass would be with diapers? Little Jared walking around.
We need size 5 diapers over here.
This is a big ass.
For context, that's a very big diaper.
That's a big ass. This girl, Cassidy Lynn. Remember what they said in TED about girls with 2 names? I don't know. But the only reason I commented on her post, there's a reason I commented on her post. I wouldn't comment if she didn't have 219,000 followers. If she had like 4,000, I would never comment. But her advice, I really do not like. Before I run the video, let me say what the video is about. She's talking about wedding trends that she thinks are going to come to an end, or what the future holds for wedding photography. And you guys guess what you think Steven and I are going to say when we come back. So here's the audio you're going to get to hear.
Here are some photography things that I think we've seen a lot of in the past, and we're not going to see as much of them in the future. And just to be fair, I'm using all of my photos for this video. This might be the most controversial of all of them, but I think golden hour is something we're going to see a lot less of. Specifically the golden hour that makes your subject really, really warm. Instead, I think a lot of people are gravitating towards just like an hour before golden hour. So it's still not full sun, but I think the golden hour where you have that sun directly behind your subject, we're going to see less and less of. Number 2, I think we're going to see less of these photos where we have really, really blown out backgrounds with a really long focal length. Don't get me wrong, I think a photo like this is absolutely beautiful. Obviously, like, this is part of my portfolio, but I think photography is headed more towards a higher aperture type of photo where you can see almost everything that's in the background. So something like this where the aperture is clearly higher and there's just not as long of a focal length being used. I really do think that there are so many posing trends going around right now. And I think these poses that are really stiff and clearly, orchestrated are going to be less and less seen in photography. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this candid posing. Even if you're shooting a couple, a lot more separation between the two. Overall, I think this type of posing that's more documentary style just feels a little bit more timeless. So a lot of people are gravitating towards that now.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
So you agree with everything she said, right?
100%, Steven.
Me too. All right, let's move on.
100%. I couldn't disagree more, and that's why I commented.
No.
Well, let me read my comment to see if I was an asshole. Yeah, I guess I was. Couldn't disagree more about higher apertures being the next thing we see where everything's in focus in the background. There are many things that separate a snapshot from a photograph, and one main thing is less distracting backgrounds. If you're in a park, and the cars going by in the background are fully in focus, it doesn't work. Of course, there's exceptions to everything, but I don't agree that this is going to be a thing, and if it is, it's not going to look good.
I think there's a time and place for higher apertures. I think most people hire professional photographers because they want that blurry look, quote unquote, and to have that professional look. And I think higher apertures, to me, looks more like a snapshot iPhone, depending where you are, obviously, if you have...
Of course, situational dependent. So I would have loved to have Vanessa Joy come on, because she wanted to talk about this topic, but she's busy right now. She didn't fully agree. She shoots more weddings, but she's like, it's what people want. It's what the customer wants. I'm like, no. Like, you dictate as a wedding photographer your style, and if all you do is chase trends,
exactly,
then it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not a trend chaser. You see it with YouTube. We've never chased any of the trends on YouTube. We've either trend started, or just stuck with what is going to be timeless.
No, I agree. Trends are trends for a reason. They last for a year or so, and then when you look back on them, you're like, why was I doing that? That looks ridiculous now. You want timeless photos.
Well, it's like metal prints. That's our metal print. Yeah, the paper that had the metallic prints.
Metallic. Yeah.
It was like, yeah, that may have had a thing for like 3 minutes, but that looks like shit when you look back on it. So I don't agree on the in focus backgrounds. Maybe you're not gonna shoot everything at 1.2, but yeah, you're not going to have completely in focus backgrounds. And if a customer came up to me and was like, I want that, I'll be like, yeah, you got the wrong person. You got the wrong person, and let me show you why that's not good.
And I think that, just like everything, there's always, you have a nice mixture of, you open up at 1.2, you take a bunch of formal photos, but you also take some stop down pictures as well.
Yeah.
It all depends. It depends on your background. I remember when I had my engagement photo session, the photographer placed us in like this forest that had a bunch of weeds and all kinds of stuff going, and just looked terrible in person, but she shot us at like 1.8 and everything was completely blurred out for the most part, and it looked great. In person, I'm like, this is going to look absolutely terrible, but that's because she didn't stop down and shoot us at f8 or f16 or something like that, or f11.
What about golden hour, Steven?
I think golden hour is great. I mean, blue hour too, either or, but I don't know why people would not want the golden hour look, the tan look, the sun right behind them, silhouetting them or something like that.
Well, when she talked about it being all like, it's too warm, it's too gold, it's too yellow. Well, yeah, bring your white balance down just a little bit.
Well, that too, but I also think warm, creates that feeling inside. It's kind of like it's a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling.
Well, I think part of what she was really getting at was the sun flare coming around the subjects.
Right behind them.
Right? Not
like
golden,
flaring into the lens almost.
Exactly. There's a reason you shoot golden hour. I mean, she was talking about like an hour before golden hour. Dude, the whole thing is, if the light is good at that time, that's what you want. Sometimes golden hour is way too harsh because it's super like burnt in people's faces. It's not, don't be a trend. Just don't do trends.
And then she also mentioned the formal poses, throwing them out the door. People want more candid photos. And I do agree, people want candid photos, but I also think they're hiring a professional photographer to tell them how to pose and take formal photos during a wedding. They're always asking, what do I do with my hands? How do I stand? What do I do? They don't want to have a photographer tell them, like, just do what you normally do. Just walk around.
That's what I do, but...
And how those photos turn out. What?
Everything's good because I'm the best of the best with honors, sir.
I think there's always a nice balance. You do a couple of formal photos. You also have them just walk around, do their thing. You mix them up, and you got best of both worlds.
Like, I don't believe in this. Oh, they want a little bit, like, it's all about being close and not having separation. You give them a little bit of everything on these weddings. Like, hey, guys, go walk. You trail behind just a little bit.
Exactly.
Then they become slightly out of focus, and it's kind of cool. But the moral of the story is don't chase trends in this stuff. Have your style. And if someone comes to you and like, we love this look of spot color, you're like, yeah, no, that's Stephen, I almost said gay. I almost went back to the 90s and said that's gay, but that's not gay. That's not what I mean by gay. You remember back in the day, gay was just everything was gay. You made out with a girl, that's gay. Well, no, that's really not gay. But what I meant to say is it's lame. Gay isn't lame. I'm not saying gay's lame. I fly a rainbow flag here, okay? I don't fly a rainbow flag. You know what I'm saying. I think that it's spot coloring is the worst thing. It really just doesn't make any sense. And all of these trends are just that. They're trends. And you need to temper the expectations or educate your clients on, look, I understand you think this is the hottest thing since sliced bread. I'll get you a couple of them, but like not all of them.
Don't not pay attention to current trends. I think you should slowly implement some of those trends into your photography. You don't want to be the guy that's still shooting photos like it's the 80s or something like that.
I agree, 100%. I'd like to get Vanessa's take on this one day. Actually, did she comment? Well, she told me I was wrong. She did, the typical thing that she always tells me is, you don't shoot weddings. I'm like, no, I don't shoot weddings.
Yeah.
No, I don't shoot weddings.
She has more insight for sure than us.
But people hire you based off of your style and what you do.
I do agree on that.
If someone is kicking the tires, I've always said this, if someone's coming around and all they're doing is price shopping and telling you how they want it, then they don't care about your work. They just want someone to push a button. If they want you, like,
I mean, I think it's fine if they're looking for a
style.
specific photo and there's like one image that they want out of their wedding, like they have something in mind, but everything else is all you.
100%, Stephen. 100%. All right, let's put that to rest. And that's not ripping on that photographer at all. That's just giving our thoughts on
that's just ripping
saying
on
that
them.
publicly. It's not ripping. It's giving a different opinion and thought on what she's saying.
You're wrong.
And I
We're
disagree.
right.
Not saying she's wrong. I'm saying that we're right. Real quick, the Super Huger Mega Camera giveaway is coming to an end in less than a month. If you're new here and you don't know about this, it's where I give one of you the chance to win up to $4,999.99 of my own money to spend on anything you want at Alan's camera, and it's free to enter. If you go to bit.ly/megafro234, that is where you get entered to win this. It's free to enter, or if you purchase any of the presets, including the Grand Slam bundle, you score extra entries. If you've already purchased those in the past, you get entries automatically on the back end. We have them registered here. So if you do make a purchase, you score extra entries, but you can enter for free. Good luck.
I actually forgot that contest was even running.
Yeah, we didn't push it as hard this time around, but
haven't.
I did let it run a little longer because we started it later in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Do not, I repeat, do not go to bit.ly/megafro24. I did that yesterday because I couldn't remember the bit.ly link, and all that came up was, I'm not going to tell you, do not go there while you're at work with your audio on. Don't do it. So be very careful if you go there. The real address is bit.ly/megafro234. Good luck, get entered. Now let's move on to something that says that Meta is training their AI called Emu. Well, they're training Emu with photos from Instagram and Facebook. Your photos. Public photos, not private photos and not photos in a message.
And of course, all of the real quote unquote photos that I posted on there are all public.
Yes, when we started using Instagram all those times years ago and all the Facebook years ago, you weren't like, yeah, are they going to use it to train the AI? But on the flip side, you knew that they had the rights to use those images without your permission because you are posting it on their service. That's always been there in the terms of service. So is it unethical? You're still paying nothing for social media. You're still paying nothing for Facebook. You're still paying nothing for Instagram. It is what it is. You've chosen to I've posted my images there, and they're going to train the AI regardless because OpenAI still won't admit where they got their images from to train the AI for the photo generator. We know where they got them. They scraped the internet and took them illegally,
exactly.
But it's never going to matter. It's too big. There's too many billions of dollars behind it for these large companies. It doesn't matter.
It's too late.
It doesn't matter
to police it at this point.
It just doesn't matter. It would, I'd hate to say, stifle the growth and the speed at which it's growing. I'm not saying that it's right that they're using everybody's images, but shit, it's just a faster way of doing it. Just like a writer learned from reading books, and used that information to make them better.
It's all influence at the end of the day, except AI is literally copying work too.
Yeah, but yes, taking all those data sets and just using it. So it's like if you say, I want to show me a picture of a giraffe
in the style of Frono's photo, it just shows a really weird out of focus photo.
Yeah, that's correct. We didn't say in the style of a Nikon camera. Before that, Steven.
Sick burn.
Boo, boo, boo. Well, you always busted on Nikon. Anyway, yeah, we don't train on private stuff. We do train on stuff people share with their friends. We do train on things that are public, Meta Chief Product Officer Chris Cox told Bloomberg Tech. He's not lying. That's what they're doing. And so they've got billions of images and videos to train their stuff, and all they care about is making more money in the long run. So you can't be upset. You could try to be upset at this, but you have no choice. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's those things that you have no choice over and you have no say over, so don't get upset about it. It's going to benefit us in the long run. And if you think you're losing jobs from it, as Scott Galloway likes to say, a guy that I follow in tech, he's like, you're not going to lose jobs to the AI. You're going to lose jobs to people who know how to use the AI properly. So if you don't learn and educate yourself on how to properly use AI, or just at least be in the know on how to use the prompts to your advantage, and I'm not just talking about making photos. I'm not talking about fake photos. I don't think fake photos are going to replace action sports or any photojournalism. Will they replace advertisements?
Graphic designers?
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. That's where it's scary.
Squarespace replaced, the need for the web developers, web designers. We knew that, those low-level guys.
Sure.
And girls. Sorry, guys and girls and others and theys and thems. All of them. So we're going to move on from that. The biggest news of the week is my butt got wet because it sticks out so far. The biggest news of the week is the R1 was officially announced as a development announcement at midnight, where I actually had to come in and make a video that I haven't done in a long time, to have to do a midnight video because we didn't have information this time around.
Yeah, the rumor websites kept saying the 15th of May, and we didn't hear anything about it until literally when it was announced.
They said the 15th of May for they were thinking the R5.
Well, they were saying both
Mark
the
II.
R5 II and the R1, but we got the R1 at least. Obviously, it's not the full list of specs and everything, but it was a true development announcement.
Yeah, a development announcement that gave us nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Basically gave us nothing, which is, it's like, either don't have an announcement at all or give us something of substance. The only thing they gave us was a new processor that goes next to the Digic X or Digic 10 processor called the Digic Accelerator. And that is basically similar, if I had to guess, to what Sony did with the A9 III by putting a separate AI processor in there.
The A7 R5 is when it first got introduced.
Oh, that's right. They had one in there too.
But they marketed it as a separate AI processor that will then really truly detect a subject, the torso, the head. So if they're turning, all of that, they know it's a head. They don't have to wait for a face, stuff like that. And this is essentially what Canon's doing. Although Canon always called it deep learning, not AI. Although it's the same thing. It's just marketing.
I'm super tired of the term AI, and everybody's like, AI this, AI that, put AI in front of that, AI Frono's photo, which someone asked me if I wanted to do. It's like, you could technically train the AI in a large learning model, or what an LLM is. A large learning model. If you ever hear LLM, basically, I would be a pretty good person for an LLM because I have so much information out there that I've put. So the LLM AI would crawl all of my YouTube videos, all 30-some hundred of them, and then put that into a data set so that you could ask a question of Frono's photo and it could spit back an answer. That is an actual thing. I didn't do it because I don't want to do it. There's no reason to do it. But based off of all of my information,
I like the colors, the tones, the contrast, wides, mediums, tights, details.
Nikon
the exposure
sucks.
triangle.
Yeah. But that's what
Nikon. Don't shoot with a Nikon.
That's what an LLM is, large learning model, or whatever, language learning, whatever it is, but LLM.
But that's really the biggest thing they gave us out of this announcement.
They told us that it has a brand new CMOS sensor.
That's it.
What they didn't specify was, is it a global shutter, which I still don't think it's going to be a global shutter, or just a regular stacked sensor, but they did say that it's going to be able to move a shit ton of data quickly, which does lead you to believe that it's going to be almost global shutter sensor-like, but still with a traditional electronic shutter sensor.
Hopefully it won't have the issues that come with a global shutter, like the decrease in dynamic range.
But I don't think it's going to have a global shutter.
That's what I'm saying. It's supposed to hopefully act like a global shutter. Incredibly fast readout speeds. Not instantaneous, I don't think, but it will be very, very fast, mimicking a global shutter, but you won't have the issues like that lack of dynamic range and high ISO.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it felt like a nothing burger announcement. They basically
Didn't feel like it was.
Yes, it was. They put it out so that they can go and do field testing and not have to worry as much. But it's just like, if you're going to do an announcement, give us the megapixels, give us the sensor, give us how many frames per, give us something. I think, didn't the Z9 do that? Didn't Nikon do like a bunch of rollouts in a row of videos?
I think the initial development announcement of the Z9 was really nothing, but then they teased it like every other week. They came out with more and more and more, giving people little crumbs of specs before it was announced. I thought that rollout was pretty good, actually. Now, the R5, R6 development announcement, if you remember that, they did actually give us a ton of specs. I don't know about the first initial one, but the second one, they gave us almost everything, because I remember people thinking, where's the cripple hammer at? It says 8K, but what's the issue? What's the caveat?
Yeah, well, they obviously have to do what they have to do it. The Olympics are coming around, so this camera will be all over the Olympics. I want to get my hands on one. Obviously, I just want to know more. I think that people are always going to be upset because they expect something revolutionary when everything still becomes evolutionary.
But this is the R1. This is the flagship that we've been waiting 4+ years for. There needs to be a revolutionary spec in this camera. I
still love the R3.
This should not just be an R3 Mark II, though. That was not the flagship. Although I truly think to this day that was supposed to be the flagship until the A1 came out, and then they downgraded it because the A1 just crushed it spec-wise.
But I switched from an A1 to an R3.
Well,
and
that was for autofocus, I think.
It was for autofocus and lenses. The lens selection was better.
Yeah.
It's just better on Canon. I love reading comments where people are like, oh, I've been waiting and blah, blah, blah. And dude, this is what we get. Oh, I'm going to jump. People are going to jump ship. No one's jumping ship. No one is jumping ship from Canon to Sony at this juncture that is invested in it, because they know how good the R3 is. They know how good the R5 is. And the R5 Mark II, talking to sports shooters last night, because they're asking me about the R1. They're like, do you have it tonight? And I'm like, no. And the guy's like, I'm really waiting for that R5 Mark II. I love those megapixels. I love
Me too.
the R5. And so they did. But I just love people commenting, and these are people that will never own an R1.
Well, and the difference here, opposed to, say, when we were waiting on the Nikon Z9 to be announced, is that Nikon really did need a Hail Mary at that point. They needed something big to come out, because everyone was really, especially us, shitting on the Z6, Z7 launches, where Canon still has perfectly viable cameras out in the market today that have zero issues. I mean, I can't say zero issues, but, that are great cameras.
Amazing.
The R5 is still an incredible camera and holds up 4 years later. It's pretty mind-blowing.
And the R3 is a joy to shoot.
But I do think they need to make a big splash with the R1, because it is the last flagship. I mean, by the time this comes out, the Z9 II might come out. The A1 II will probably be out at that point.
You're not getting a Z9 II anytime soon.
I think we'll get an A1 II. That's over 3 years old now.
I think you'll get an A1 II before that. If you do, they might be waiting to see what happens.
Well, and they still haven't even caught up to the first A1 in terms of, it being 50 mega, double the resolution with the same frame rate.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, we'll see what the R1 brings us.
The other stuff they announced too was this new AF action priority function mode, whatever you want to call it. They say it recognizes subject movement by rapidly analyzing the subject's status in moments during a sports game when it is difficult to predict what will happen next. This function automatically determines the player performing a certain action, such as shooting a ball, as the main subject and instantly shifts the AF frame, thereby helping to capture decisive moments of gameplay. So I'm reading this as, if you're kicking around a soccer ball and you're on the subject that has the ball, they kick it to another player, the AF will automatically shift based on where the ball is going to the other player, which is good and bad. You know, I kind of want to still have some control.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I love how they say sports game. No one says sports game.
Yeah.
I think the way that I read it, in some of the situations, and they talked about the ball moving, which is not, you don't want to focus on the ball. I want to focus on the person.
Well, no, I think it's still focusing on the person, but it's the person with the ball.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to play with it, obviously, and see what happens. Now,
They also said that they're aiming for a 2024 release. Keyword aiming, which means it might not even come in 2024. Might be a 2025 release. I just think they're trying to get ahead of the Olympics. I like that they didn't mention the Olympics, by the way, in this specific press release.
Large sporting event.
A large sporting event in 2024. I wonder what that could be.
Sports ball.
Sports ball. So we'll see if it actually comes out in 2024. That'll be 5 years if it comes out 2025.
It's coming out, Steven. It's coming out. They'll have it at the Olympics, and then there's going to be an announcement in around October, September, maybe even sooner, and you won't be able to get it in your hands until the fall. And then it's going to be in limited quantities, and then they're going to apologize that they couldn't keep up with demand.
Apologize.
And then that's it. The pros are going to get them.
So in the end, we have nothing after waiting this long. No sensor size, no mentions of really any specs at all, no video specs, no frame rates. Again, really nothing, but they did leave us with a single photo, a rendering for the most part, of the front of the camera, which it's crazy. It looks just like an R3. Who would have thought?
It does, but you can, if you look closer, there's subtle differences.
Of course.
It looks like it swoops more down the left hand.
The grip is a different type of material.
Yeah, if we're looking at the camera facing us and the left-hand side is where the shutter release is, it looks like it's a sleeker design. It also looks like where the pentaprism used to be, where the EVF is, sticks out further. So that sticks out further than the other one. I wouldn't care if the camera was slightly larger. The R3 was the lightest. It's probably still the lightest
We've always said
all-in-one camera out there.
It's lighter than an R5 with a grip.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Amazing. It's so light and beautiful.
The R3 was really a perfect camera, so I'm not mad that they came out with pretty much the same exact design. They do have that little tally light in the top right corner now, like the C cameras. The R5C and the C70 has something similar to that.
Those are that's a one slight difference that you see on the front. There looks like there might be some different buttons on the top. We don't have a look at the back just yet. I hope it doesn't have a flip out rotatable screen, but it probably will.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get our hands on, hopefully now that it's out they said that, people will be testing in the wild. Hopefully we're part of that testing in the wild. So, I hope to get to take it to a baseball game, because where else would you want to take it other than that? I want to go to a sports ball game.
Let's go to a good old sports ball game.
That's right. Sports ball. So all the other photographers there.
Sports ball.
Everybody wants to know, they're all asking me everything. I go into the media room and all the photographers, the chairs turn around and it's like, R1 today?
Well, I mean, will it have quad pixel AF? Will it have a 33 megapixel sensor? Will it have a 61 megapixel sensor? Will it have a crazy 80 megapixel sensor? Who knows?
It's great that you're asking this, because Petapixel posted an article yesterday that said Canon R1 to have 30 megapixel sensor, 120 frames per second continuous shooting, 1/1250th of a second, flash sync, and enhanced dynamic range. They got their information, they said, from Adorama that posted the detailed specifications. But
on the actual product page for the R1.
Yeah. So I sent this to Steven, and Steven got back to me in a matter of minutes. What was your reply to me?
I was like, this is literally verbatim what Canon Rumors posted for their R1 specs. Copy and pasted. I think it's just a placeholder that somebody put there by accident and made it public by accident. It should have been some kind of internal placeholder, and they made it public for some reason, because as of now, I think like 2 hours later, they already deleted it, and it just shows R1 and that's it. But
Of course they deleted it, but
they posted the exact wording, though. Literally copy pasted. So that's why I think they just took it from Canon Rumors, posted it, because they even put enhanced dynamic range better than EOS R3 and R5. Canon would never use that wording. They would never say this is better than an R5, R3, whatever. And it also said APS-C size sensor at the bottom of the spec list if you looked close. And that's because the bottom of the rumored list says in APS-C mode, you get certain frame rates in video.
We'll just pretty much go out and say, I don't think these are the real specs. And what happens when these false specs get posted, people get the wrong idea, and
especially when it's
they
a
get
wish
disappointed.
list.
Yeah, and they get disappointed. Like, I read this list and I'm like, wait, 40 frames per second continuous, but then if you want to shoot at 60 or 120, it's going to like C2 raw, C3, like one
Different
half raw.
compression rates, yeah.
I've never heard them ever say anything like that. That's never been a thing. Now, you've had small raw, like the S raw, right? But like one half raw, one third raw. Like, I've never heard those terms used to explain how they're going to give you a smaller file to get that speed. I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can do, like, say that, 240 frames per second is a JPEG only. Maybe they could do that. But if it doesn't do 120 frames per second, full capable raw, which... how could they not? They were doing 150 frames per second equivalent with the R3 without autofocus. And if they have a new sensor with the AI thing, the Digic processor, and faster read speeds, then they're going to be able to move that data around faster, and you're going to see legitimate speeds. You can't have an A9 III that does 120 frames per second straight up, no compromise, and then you guys come out with something that can't compete at all.
I totally agree.
I don't think that
the
can
fact
happen.
that the A9 III is not the flagship for Sony. So if you're competing against a non-flagship camera and your flagship can't compete, that's an issue. Now, I'm not saying it has to have a global shutter, but I do think it has to have an incredibly fast stacked sensor of some sort that maybe mimics a global shutter, like I said earlier. This rumored spec list said less than 0.8 microsecond read time from the sensor, which again is not a 0 second read time, which would be a global shutter. It's close enough, though, where it mimics that global shutter look.
What's the
But hopefully
R3s
you don't
again?
get the compromise of a global shutter. The R3 is probably like a 3 millisecond readout speed. Most of them are about 3. I think the Z9 actually has the fastest readout speeds in their stack sensor. It ranges from like 2.7 to like 3.5 between the A1, R3, and Z9. So they're all very, very close.
And then when you get into non-stacked, you're in the like 15 millisecond range, right?
No, Canon's R8 and R6 Mark II, their electronic shutter readout is close to like 14 or 15. And then traditional ones like a Z6 II and a A7 IV go from anywhere from like 30 to 40 millisecond readout to like 60. Like the A7R
like really bad.
5 is like 60 plus. You can't even use that electronic shutter unless you're shooting something that's completely static.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get some pretty bad warping. It is a very slow readout speed.
Look, what would be a complete disappointment to me is if it didn't have pre-shooting. That's really all I care about right now.
The R6 Mark II already has it. It's a different form, granted, but it already has 1 second raw pre-shooting. I hate how they implemented it personally, but there's no way the R1 is not going to have pre-shooting, especially with the A9 III having it and the Z9 and Z8, even though it's JPEG only, which still is weird.
I don't think I will be fully I don't think I'm going to be disappointed by this camera. I think I will be really happy. I hope it's slightly more megapixels. I hope it's not 24. If it is 24, it's weird. Then it would really be an EOS R3 Mark II.
Well, keep in mind, all of the flagship models in the past have always been anywhere from 16 to 20 megapixels. They've always been low-res sensors.
Yeah, I just think they have to go with at least 30.
They have to catch up with the competition. You have 47 and 50 now to compete with.
Yeah. I mean, but again, give me the cleaner ISO capability still with less megapixels. For me, I want a cleaner file, and I don't care about grain, but don't want to worry about noise.
Sure.
Not noise, but higher ISO. Not that I need to shoot at 10,000 ISO at all. Like you rarely do. But just,
but like we've always said, the
4,000.
higher the native ISO goes, the better, cleaner files that you'll be shooting at 6400 or something like that.
Yeah,
the better,
like
the lower.
6400 and 4000, 5000 is where I like
The
to
sweet
live
spot.
to give me like shooting baseball yesterday in the rain. So like
when you can shoot 6400 ISO and it mimics 800 ISO, that's where I want to be. That world. My thing is, like, if I can get at least a 33 megapixel sensor, because then I can get 8K video. I can get it's a nice sweet spot between 24 and 45. It's right in between, at least that, though. I think that's the baseline. I'll take 50 all day. Don't get me wrong.
So I'm already happy with the R3's autofocus, and any improvement over that will put it well above Sony, and obviously leaps and bounds above Nikon. And the fact that, again, the R8 is capable of the autofocus that it's capable of for $1,000, and it's better than the Nikon, and it's on par with an A9 III, but better than almost all of the Sony, even the A1. The R8 has better autofocus than the A1. It's just insane. So I think Canon. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what it is. I hope it's $6,000. I hope they price it right. But again, for the people that are going to buy it, you're going to buy it for $6,000. You're going to buy it for $7,000. It really isn't going to matter at the end of the day, because this tool, if it is what it is going to give you the best camera in the history of cameras for Canon.
Regarding pricing, if it's $6,000, remember the R3 was introduced at $6,000 as well. So is this really just an R3 Mark II, or was the R3 actually supposed to be an R1? It makes you wonder, right? Or is the R3 line going to be dead moving forward, or are they now making room for that mid-pro range $4,500 camera like an A9 III?
I don't know, man. It's so hard in the sports world to want to say drop $4,500 when for a little bit more.
When you're spending that kind of money, that $1,500 is really just a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm excited. Let's just say I'm excited. I'm anxious to see it. Hopefully we can get our hands on it, because if I can get my hands on it now that's out in the wild and do our thing, then we'll be able to tell you guys what we think.
I'm excited for all the new cameras that will eventually come out. Like I said, we're waiting on the A1 II at some point. R1. I think Z6 III is still waiting to come out at some point. It's all of that. It's all
you
been
didn't get invited
rumored.
to Lanzarote?
I forgot about that secret trip.
Shit, you missed that. Don't tell anybody we're saying that, Steven. That's what we got. We got to move on, Steven. I think we're done this week.
Yes.
Episode 102, guys. Appreciate you guys listening. Anything you need to add at the end of this, Steven?
That is it. We'll see when the actual official announcement comes for the R1. I think it's typically, I feel like it's always like 6 months later.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be that long. I don't think we're waiting 6 months.
I think the R3 was 6 months later.
I don't think we're waiting 6 months. That puts us into 25.
That's what I'm saying. So April 14th is when the development announcement for the R3 was announced, and then the actual announcement was on September 14th. That's 5 months later. I mean, this could be November, December.
Could be
2025. This is just based on the past of what they did with the R3, which I still think is their flagship. But
all right, we got to get moving on here. .org. We thank you guys for watching, and by watching I mean listening. You could send us messages to that number that's in the description, because I don't have my piece of paper handy right now.
313-710-9729. You can text that number, and one of us usually responds unless you text us a lengthy novel.
Yeah, don't send a novel.
No.
Yeah, I don't. TLDR. Don't read.
Exactly.
So, all right, Steven, I'm going to sign off. Everybody, thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, FrontosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.